Bienvenue sur le plateau d'Informatique News pour notre rendez-vous, l'invité de la semaine. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons le plaisir de recevoir Jim Goodnight, qui est CEO et fondateur de SAS. Jim Goodnight, good morning, because I think you are, it's 10 o'clock over there where you are in North Carolina.
That's correct, yes,
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. Let's start by a pretty simple question. We've been through, a hell of a difficult time for the last year and a half, and it's not finished yet. I'm, talking about the COVID. And do you have in mind one application that you would like to share, one application that is using your technology that you would like to share that was helping to mitigate the pandemic?
Well, we worked with a lot of government organizations to develop COVID dashboards to show exactly the number of cases being reported daily, and then later on the number of vaccines that had been administered. We worked with several hospitals to forecast the number of beds that they were going to need based on the spread of the COVID situation there.
And do you know how much they help this organization to fight against the COVID?
Well, it was more getting prepared to make sure they had the adequate amount of protective equipment, the number of beds, the oxygen supplies. That was the main thing we were being used for, to help prepare the hospitals for what was coming.
Okay, this was not only a dashboard of what's going on. It was helping a lot to do and to fight against the COVID, right?
That's true. Yes, correct.
Okay, you have your annual conference not long ago, like it was a few weeks ago, the SAS Global Forum. So you had the US edition, then the EMEA edition, and the APAC edition. Could you summarize what was, the most, the new announcement you made or the new innovation that was taking place in that SAS forum this year?
Well, one of the things we were talking about is how our AI chatbots were being used to help a number of countries and help in the fight against about fraud. People that have been subjected to fraudulent situations, and we help develop a chatbot to help that situation. We have a number of sports organizations that are using SAS to be able to better make their customers, their fans happier, to make sure that they get very good seats and that they're there to answer any problems that they have. And then we announced a number of global honors that we had received. And we talked about our hackathon that we recently had. It was a global hackathon. Over 100 different teams were involved. And that's that's the main thing.
Okay, I watched the keynote you gave for that conference, and you talk, of course, a lot about Viya, your platform, and you said you were starting to work on that platform in 2009, and at that time was not called Viya, but this was the premise of what we know as Viya today. And then you had the second and the third version, and the last version was last November, the fourth edition of Viya platform. Could you tell us what was the most improvement in that version last November? What was the new functionalities in that platform coming in?
Well, the whole concept of Viya is to be able to handle really big data and really large computational problems by spreading the workload out over a number of different CPUs or cores, as we're calling these days. So that's what happened back in 2009 when we got started on this journey. We had a banker from Singapore that was telling us that it was taking 18 hours to compute their value at risk computations. So when we came back to Cary, we began working on try to make that faster. And by using many different computers and running all in parallel, we were able to get that down to from 18 hours down to 15 minutes. So that's what really got us interested in trying to get ready to handle the really, really large data that'll be coming at us in the future, and the large computational problems. And we're seeing that with things like neural networks. These are enormous computational problems with millions of parameters that have to be estimated. These things that take a lot of time unless you've got enough computing power that you can do it all in parallel. And so we've been on that journey now for, what, 12 years. So we've gotten pretty good at it. I think we are the best in the world at high performance computing.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just following on your example, coming from 18 hours to 15 minutes. It's just a matter of improving performance, because if you do the job in 18 hours, when you talk about fraud, it's kind of useless. I mean, it doesn't help at all. So you don't do it. And then if you do it in 15 minutes, then you can do it. So it's not a matter of just improvement. It's just a matter of you can do it, then you can do it. So it's it's black and white. So it's a very different situation.
Well, we're seeing that with a lot of computational problems, problems which no one would even have thought about doing in the past, now can be thought about because of the incredible speed we have now in our computer systems, and the ability to run these systems all in parallel. It allows an enormous, larger number of problems to be solved than we ever could before. Computer vision is one of those examples where it takes millions and millions of iterations to be able to come up with solutions to the problem. And without massively parallel computing, it would just take days and days and days to do it.
Are you working on quantum computing? Not for now, of course, but for the future?
Sorry, what type of computing?
Quantum computing.
Quantum. Now, we've looked at quantum, and we don't think it's ready for prime time yet. It's going to be quite a few more years.
Okay.
Especially for the analytical problems. I think with the current architecture that we are currently using, that it will certainly suffice for a number of years to come.
Okay. I was telling you that Viya, you present that as a platform, and a lot of vendors are talking about platforms and trying to integrate the other solution of other vendors to their own platform. Do you think this is one way that the competition will continue? We could call that the war of platforms. Do you think that's a way that software will continue to go on?
Well, there seems to be more and more interest in that type of platform. The idea that you can use a single platform to do all of your data integration, bring in data from all of your different sources, transform it, get it ready to analyze, do your modeling and analyzing, and then distribute the models into production, all in a single platform is an extremely powerful thing. And that's the sort of thing we've been doing for many, many years. We're seeing some of the open source platforms, for example. You can run a model, but they're very difficult. Somebody else usually has to hand you the data. You analyze it, then you hand it to somebody else to make it production. Whereas with SAS, it's all a seamless connection from the data beginning to the model production.
And I suppose with helping with that notion of platform, the cloud is there, and you have partnership with Microsoft first, and then AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Google. Are you thinking of other vendors, other cloud platform vendors?
Well, we're working with the Red Hat OpenShift, I think it's called, to try to make sure we run there. That is a number of companies that are creating their own internal clouds. We'll be using Red Hat to do that. So we're trying to make sure that we're running there as well.
Okay. At the core of SAS is the statistical analysis, and you know that SAS is the meaning of a statistical analysis system. So that statistical is very much at the core of SAS. And then later on, like a few years ago, the AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, was becoming pretty much mature. And on your platform Viya, you are proposing these two technology. Do you think they are complementary, or do you think AI will be the major one, and statistical will still be used, or not?
Well, first of all, AI, I always thinking of it just as an extension of analytics. We're still generating models, estimating the parameters for those models, and that's what we're doing with analytics. So, to my mind, there's not a lot of difference in the two. Now, the one thing though is the capability of AI, and it is primarily good for dealing with text, voice to text and text to voice, doing translations from one language to another, doing chat bots where we're trying to interpret what someone says and then try to respond with an answer. Then all the computer vision area, basically, my belief is anything that the human eye can see, we can train a computer to see the same thing, or to at least to respond and recognize the same thing. So those are the two big areas, are the vision area and the textual area. Not a lot, other than that, we have some neural network models that might improve a regular model by just a few percent. So it's not a replacement ever. It's just an augmentation to analytics. To do things like forecasting, time series, all of that area is something that AI is just not ready for to handle.
Let's go, if you want, a little bit on your personal side. When you founded SAS, this was in 1976, and the PC didn't exist. The PC as we know today did not exist, and the IT was basically focused on mainframes. At that time, did you envision what SAS was going to be, and what SAS is today?
Of course not. No, we were just hoping to make it through the end of our first year and have a little money to pay ourselves with, and we were successful the very first year, and every year since we've been profitable. So.
And so how do you see SAS in 10, 20 years?
It's hard to, I never even try to look out more than about years. The industry changes so fast that to tie yourself down to some 10-year forecast and plan is, I've always resisted trying to do that. You never know what new gadget's going to come along. The iPhone came along, all of a sudden we're expected to run on that. The iPad came along, we were expected to run on that. When PCs came, our customers started asking us, hey, you've got to run on the PC. So you just never know exactly what new thing is coming that you're going to have to adapt to, and your customers are going to want you to run on.
So on all this technology we have seen in the last 50 years, what is the one that you think had the most impact of the IT as we know it?
You know, the way I look at IT, things haven't really changed that much. Back my very first computer that I worked with back in 1963, it operated over 300 instructions a second, and I remember thinking how fast that was. But today's computers are operating 3 billion instructions a second. So it's just the enormous leap of performance and capability. And the fact is that we've got machines that can run so much faster, can handle such larger problems that you have to let your mind just imagine what in the world you can do with this incredible power that we have at our hands.
Okay, well, I think we've covered pretty much, and I'd like to thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Goodnight, thank you very much.
Thank you.